Project Playtime is a very good game, but it's also very buggy. Currently, it's in early access for free, and even though it already seemed like it was going to be really good, mob games themselves warn us that the game may have bugs. And you can really tell, and there are a variety of bugs that aren't just limited to the gameplay itself, but also affect the servers, which, well, is another issue, but that's its biggest problem. Right now, it's pretty unreliable trying to get into any server, and if you're lucky, you'll be able to find matches easily. If the game doesn't kick you out of each one, it's tedious to keep trying, but of course you can always host your own match. But there's another annoying thing here. If the server creator, meaning the person hosting the match, leaves, the match also ends. And this doesn't just happen in the waiting room, it can also happen in the middle of the game, and needless to say, it can be really unfair if you're winning. But of course there are also connection bugs. But of course, the game very kindly gives us an option to report bugs, so why not do it? Although the problem is that the questions aren't translated into Spanish, and, well, that could be solved quickly. Or at least, that's what it seemed. Why are the letters backwards? You have to admit it. Project Playtime has a loot of bugs that unfortunately interrupt and wear down the fun. Although there are some really random bugs too, like this one, with Bug Shibu in a T-pose and Teiko mechanics from Mommy Long Legs. Tell me that's not the strangest thing you've seen yet. But after criticizing it a lot for its bugs, I have to say something good. And one very positive thing is that it's not pay to win, meaning you don't have to pay to have an advantage over another player. The only thing you can do with money here is buy coins to exchange them for skins or emotes. And well, those who don't spend any money aren't left behind either, because they can also get some skins and emotes for free. But if we're talking about advantages, we have to admit that they do exist in the game, and they're called perks and sabotage. There are some for survivors as well as for monsters. However, these are bought with tickets. And you get tickets by playing, so if you want to buy and upgrade one of these, you'll have to spend a considerable amount of time playing. Although if we focus purely on these advantages that the game provides, we can notice that in some cases it could become unfair or even unbalanced. Even so, I'm not saying they're bad. In fact, it allows for better cooperation, and the monster can also create its own strategy. It actually makes it a lot more fun. But even so, it's something that needs to be regulated. You're not going to put a rookie monster with players who already have their Super Saiyan Phase 3 God level advantage. That's the problem. And well, also the randomness of playing online means we can get all kinds of players. And if there are terrible players, there will be terrible survivors or a terrible monster. But I guess it's something you can't avoid. But it would be great if they considered match players based on some kind of rank or level system, so it wouldn't be so unfair. Changing the subject, I've been talking about the game, and maybe several of you don't know exactly what it's about. So I'll explain it in the shortest way I can think of. In each match there should be 7 players, 6 will be survivors, and the last one will be the monster. The survivors will solve puzzles to get parts of the toy, then they deposit them until the toy is complete, they lower that giant tube, and then they have to escape and get on the train. Meanwhile, the monster has to prevent that. They have to attack and incapacitate each player and then lock them up. The good thing is that the monster, depending on which one you choose, will have different abilities that will make the job easier. Without a doubt, the game is fun, whether you're a survivor or the monster. If you get locked up, you keep playing a sort of puzzle until finally someone decides to get you out of there. And if they want to win, they'll have to do it. Still, you can't do this an infinite number of times. That's why you only have 3 lives. The third time you fall into the pit, the game will be over for you. And well, on the monster's side, the monster is the monster, and you'd better buy sabotages so you can torture the survivors more effectively. Of all the monsters, my favorite was the new one, Buggy. That super big jump, the claw in case someone escapes you, and the mobility is really good in my opinion. But going back to the bugs, because yes, I'm not done yet. The markers we can see around us, I mean, those symbols or signs that indicate specific places, aren't that accurate. And actually, sometimes they bug out. but I have to admit that they are really helpful for finding our way around the map. But maybe there are better ways to do it. And speaking of maps, we only have 2, but in my opinion, they're very complete. They're big and different. Plus, each one has its own atmosphere. They definitely don't show up together. I hope it stays that way. I hope the next map also has its own personality. Project Playtime is a game with a great atmosphere, and it's fun when everything works well. However, it's not always like that because it's either the server, the players, or the bugs. Also, the game itself is in English. There isn't any text in Spanish. That's unfortunate for all Spanish speakers. But since it's a beta, you can give it a pass. But in general, all the problems with the game could be justified with the simple fact that it's a beta. And I don't think that's the best thing. We have to report the bugs, even if they ask us several questions. This way, the game's developers will be able to keep improving it, and in the end, Project Playtime will be 100 times more fun than it is right now. I feel that if it keeps getting better, it will have a great future, but if not, it will just end up being a game with bugs in every match.